friends, and welcome to the Gamer Down. This is your host, Darkhosis, and today on the Gamer Down MMORPG Spotlight, we are checking out Global Agenda, which is another one of the free-to-play games that is just now available on Steam here. And I always do these narrations after I film the video, and I gotta say, this game has really impressed me. This is a really good game. I love the controls and everything about it, and I look forward to playing more of it. I'm only going to go through the tutorial area, but it has a lot to offer. And I even got my ass kicked a little bit in the tutorial area. Yeah, it turned out to be a little bit tougher than I imagined. This game offers 4 classes. It has Recon, which is type of like rogue class, and then there's Assault, which is more of the the tank class, and then you have the Medic, the healing class, and then the Robotics, which is like it says, it offers a wide variety of gadgets to accomplish your goal. So I'm going to go ahead and go with Assault. I'm always that type of person. I always play the tank, and I'm always right there. I love to run right into battle. That is the way I go. And I die a lot. You're going to see me die a lot in this tutorial, well, at least a few times. Yeah, what would it be, the Gamer Down without a few deaths? And I died. I didn't expect to die, but it got a little bit tougher, as the tutorial went on, as a tutorial should be. So, and here in the character creation, there's quite a few, options to choose from. You can be just about anybody, like this guy here. Gotta love that hair, buddy. And there seems to be like a little bit of fading, like when it's loading, as you can see. But otherwise, I was getting a very solid, FPS through this game. Didn't take up any, barely any CPU or memory or anything like that, surprisingly. There is a wide variety to choose from, as you can see. You can look like an old man or a little geek or a gangsta, whatever you want to look like. You can pretty much, pick and choose. You can look like Joe Rogan if you want to, or Sir Lancelot, whatever you got in mind. And you can even further customize your character here with your, change some of the features. Some of them you have to crack up about, some of the features here. I've known a few people that look like this. You can't fault that. And the hair, yeah, all kinds of different hairstyles we can choose from here. And some of them are a little bit out there, I think, but not too bad, not too bad. This is a first-person shooter type MMORPG. Technically, it is a third-person shooter role-playing game, massively multiplayer online role-playing game, but if I accidentally call something a first-person shooter, that's just old school. Everything was a first-person shooter. It didn't matter if it was third-person shooter. You know what we meant. And this game is from High Res Studios, which is an up-and-coming studio these days, putting out some really good stuff. And they seem to have a really good plan in mind as well, releasing such a game as this, a really high quality game that is also free to play. And they've hit a lot of the things that a lot of MMOs are missing. It offers a lot of solo play, it offers a lot of group play, and this game has a huge PvP focus, obviously. There's arenas and several ways to get your PvP fix on. Now let's enjoy this really nice intro together.
2155. Humanity may have survived a devastating Third World War, but liberty did not. Now there is only the oppressive Commonwealth and the few independent factions it has yet to assimilate. Because no army can stand against it, resistance is waged with elite agents. These operatives are so dangerous to the world government that it has initiated a program to create its own counter-agents.
Now, the storyline is a bit of a split between Star Wars and The Matrix. When I started playing this game, I instantly started having those like Star Wars feelings, really. But I love Star Wars, so it was quite enjoyable. So if you enjoy Star Wars, you're probably going to really enjoy this game as well. And there's also a Matrix component as well, where you are controlled and kept in these isolation pods, and and you're finally escaping and gaining your freedom from this facility here. And that is the mission for your tutorial, to escape this facility, obviously.
Wait a second, I'm getting another signal. It looks like one more managed to disconnect. If you can hear me, you've somehow managed to escape your stasis chamber. You need to get moving. Head up the ramp and toward the door to get out of the laboratory. You should see a trail of arrows guiding you to your destination.
And now you're presented with your first quest, really. This whole tutorial area just is to introduce you to the basics, basically. It introduces you how to walk and how to use your gun, use your melee weapon. All the things that anybody who's played an MMO before or a third-person shooter before is going to know right off the bat. And I stepped right into these controls and was able to use them instantly from my previous third-person shooter experiences and things like that. So I didn't really have to learn anything. The only things I'm having to learn in this game is how the equipment works and just basic things like that, like how to equip your gear and all that, which it does show you how to do in this tutorial. Some of the things it didn't explain all too well, because when I came out of the other side of this tutorial, I was basically naked. And I wasn't able to put my gear back on, and it's probably just my noobness. I just couldn't figure out how to do it. Now, this game is free to play, but that doesn't mean that you can't eventually end up spending a lot of money on a free-to-play game. Like all of them, they have stuff you can buy. At least there's one thing about this game that all free-to-play games should follow, is you can't gain any power advantage, really, by using this store. A lot of the things you buy are really just like for double EXP or cosmetic. It's really doesn't give you any power advantage. You're not going to have really any gear advantage over anybody else. And this game has jetpacks. I mean, it has jetpacks. What else can be said? Yeah, City of Heroes had jetpacks as well, and you could fly in that game too. But that's another thing. One of the City of Heroes developers is actually in charge of helping develop this as well. So you will notice, a few City of Heroes elements. I really noticed, like around these like corridors and like the lighting. I've seen this exactly in like City of Heroes as well. But you really can't fault that. I mean, that's his design style. And this company, this Hi-Res Studios, they are also responsible for the upcoming Tribes revival. If you remember Tribes from way back in like the Quake 2 days, Quake 3 days, it was a very, very popular game that you would play on like all these gorgeous planets, with your jetpacks. I mean, that was one thing that really drew me in about that game, was the scenery. And you can see that in this game, this global agenda, they're gearing up towards Tribes, like with the jetpacks and all that. It has a lot of those little like Tribes elements. So if you're a fan of Tribes as well, you probably would enjoy this game. Now, if that chick would just shut up a minute and let me talk. This game reminds me a lot of Star Wars as well. You don't see any lightsabers, but the way the melee and the blaster setup is, it's a lot like Star Wars. And I found, like, obviously the combat is really
We're
easy
intercepting
at the
reports
beginning
that more
in this
security
tutorial.
forces are on their way, so you'd better keep moving.
I did manage to die. Only I can do that, yeah. Only I can manage to die. But by no means of the stretch of the word have I claimed to be a pro gamer at all. I've just played a hell of a lot of games, and I've helped develop games. And I know a lot about games. I can tell you if a game is good or a game is bad. But I really enjoyed the change up between like the melee and the blaster as well. But you do seem to have a definite advantage by using the blaster, no doubt. You know, I used the melee and then I used the blaster for a while, and there was really no competition whatsoever. I imagine that pretty much everybody probably uses a blaster in this game. And as I finally am going to level up here, I will finally get my first blaster. Except this chick, she just wants to talk all over my dialogue here, all over my narration. I'll let her talk for a little bit.
Just keep rotating that frequency and we'll be fine. Okay, sorry about that. Good, you're still there. You should take a moment to catch your breath. It looks like you're in an equipment area. You can use your equipment manager to see if there's a ranged weapon available for you to use.
And like she said, this is your
Wherever you look, you'll
equipment
notice that the
manager.
center of your field
And
of
as soon
view
as I
is
start
marked by an
talking, she
aiming
wants to
reticle.
talk again.
This is intended to help you be more accurate with weapons fire, so try to line up your shots inside of it.
So, yeah, okay, you know, basically, you have a gun and use your crosshair to shoot, you know? That's basically it. So now I have a blaster, and I have my melee weapon, and I have my jetpack. So I am ready to roll. And the way you recuperate in this system is you see the R key at the very bottom there. By pressing the R key, you will regenerate health. And you see just a couple of shots, you know. It has a real Call of Duty feel to the shooting. I really enjoy the shooting. You can scope a weapon as well. You know, it's very popular in Call of Duty scoping, of course. And I don't think I'm supposed to kill those guys, so I'm gonna go ahead and let those guys live. I don't know. The mercy. Do you feel the mercy, buddy? Yeah, I'm giving you some mercy here. And I didn't really find this part to be very hard at all, but then all of a sudden things got really hard. As I got further on, I'm sure that it was just my noobness, you know, and I think I just pulled in too many enemies and things like that. But yeah, I didn't end up dying, so you do have to use cover, and you have to use your environment as well, and I really like that too. Now, I keep mentioning Star Wars, but you're not in outer space by any stretch of the word either. You're on Earth, a future Earth. That is the plot line, basically. And the Earth has become dominated by this huge corporation type. Let's just call them the Empire. All right, you know, that's a lot of the things that remind me of Star Wars, because a lot of these story elements are kind of similar to Star Wars. Such as this huge corporation. They're kind of like the Empire who's taken over the world. And you're part of a faction here. And that's kind of like the rebels, obviously. Rebelling against the Empire, obviously. And as you see, like, these arrows on the ground, like I mentioned earlier, you know, they're really awesome. I really am glad that is here, because if those arrows weren't there, I could see myself wandering around quite lost in a lot of these places here.
Teleported to any location.
And like she just said, enemies will teleport into you, you know. And that was a couple of the ways I died. I just wasn't really paying attention, and I got too ahead of myself, and enemies were spawning behind me and in front of me, and I got overwhelmed. And I should have killed those guys too. I just really didn't know who or what they were. Since they weren't attacking me, I let them live. I guess I should have just been more destructive and just killed everybody.
Damage,
I probably missed some achievement or something here.
Your rapid epidermal synthesizing tool, or REST device. It's
And here she's talking about the recuperation system, the REST device.
While using your REST device, your power pool won't regenerate and you're more vulnerable.
But while you're out of battle, and when you need to regenerate health, all you basically do is just press R. That is what she's been trying to say for the past 10 sentences. This chick can begin to get a little bit annoying because she'll constantly prod you along, hurry up, you know, and sometimes you just want to look around a little bit. But I really like the combat. You know, I've mentioned that over and over, and I can't say enough about that. There's been so many first-person, third-person MMOs that have come out, and God, the gunplay is just terrible. But wow, I really, really like this gunplay, and I could see me getting really good at it. And I mean, it has incorporated the gunplay of a really great third-person shooter. Another really impressive thing that I haven't really spoke much of is the graphics. Wow, you know, just look how great these graphics are. And I have no lag. The only lag I got is from recording the video, because my system takes a gigantic hit when I record the video, because it is a raw recording using fraps. And anybody will tell you who is doing like what I'm doing, like game commentary, that as soon as you hit that fraps button, your system takes a huge hit, even if you have a really nice computer. It really doesn't matter. But as soon as I like turned off fraps, I was getting in upwards of 80 frames per second. And wow, I mean that's really impressive, even in like high population areas. And the sound effects as well. I know I always will speak about like being a former developer and things, and when I used to develop games, I was the sound designer. I made the sound effects, and I did all the sound design. That's what I did mainly. And I'm not even really trained for that. I just kind of fell into that, doing that on the side, and it was really enjoyable, but really time consuming. But that's something that a lot of people don't appreciate, is the sound for a game. And a game can be completely thrown off by crappy sound effects and crappy sound, but this game has excellent sound effects from the androids talking and everything. It's great. You know, it has all of the atmospheric elements, and I'm kind of ruining it by talking over it. But when you like are playing this, and you really, you know, can feel the environment, and you really can get into it as well, you know, because you feel like the intensity, like of the droids like talking around the corner. You know, you feel like the sense of danger and urgency. Even though I wasn't in too much danger, honestly. If you played this a little more carefully than I did, you probably wouldn't have died whatsoever. But you can see that androids and things would spawn right behind me, and they would kind of catch me by surprise. Catch me when I was trying to take a rest there. What this tutorial area is, besides showing you how to play the game, this is how the solo missions and group missions are set up for this game. You will be in a place like this, and you'll have a goal to accomplish, either to, you know, kill a certain, you know, person, or to retrieve a certain object. And this game offers solo play and group play, so there's supposedly a lot of solo content and solo dungeons you can do yourself. It says those don't unlock until level 20. And another thing they do to try to get you to pay for this game is by completing dungeons. If you are one of the premium members, what they call elite members, you will get better drops, and you will get better EXP. And even though, you know, you're not supposed to gain any power by the free-to-play system, you're really, you know, you're gaining better drops, so you are actually gaining a little bit of power that way. It says that there's nothing you can't buy in the store that you can't earn in the game. So, if there's something in the store that you really want, you can earn it just by doing missions and quests, and by earning points that way. And this is the boss fight, where I ended up getting my ass kicked. I almost got him, you know. And I guess this is how the death system works. You start off right exactly where you left off, at least in this tutorial. I imagine there's a little bit of a harsher death penalty out in the open world, but as you can see, he's still got the like same amount of health as when I died, so I didn't even have to really fight him again. But I really enjoy these like little cutscenes like this too, and I hope that they're present all through the game as well, because they really add to the story element and they're really well done. Really, really well done. But I wouldn't get your hopes up, too high. As you immediately exit the tutorial area, you're reminded that you are still playing an MMORPG from the current day. Star Wars The Old Republic, it's going to have fully voice-acted quests. Every quest you do in Star Wars The Old Republic is going to be very excellently voice-acted. And that doesn't happen in this game. If that was added to this game, well, I couldn't say more about it. But as soon as you exit the tutorial, you are immediately reminded that you are playing an MMO, because it is the exact same questing system. But, that is the way things are in this present day. There's no fully voiced MMO in existence I can really name. A few have tried, and a lot have failed. And Star Wars The Old Republic is coming up, and I can just tell you now that it's going to be kick-ass, and you're going to want to get that game. You're going to want to get it, pre-order it, anything you got to do to get that game. Lots and lots of people are waiting for Star Wars The Old Republic, including myself. But if you're looking for something to fill the gap in between now and then, Global Agenda might be what you're looking for. I've been playing lots and lots of MMOs, of course, because that's part of what I do. And some of the main ones I play are like Rift and WoW, and the traditional ones, of course. And I've just been dying to, get into a Star Wars Galaxies type MMO. Star Wars Galaxies went to pot, so I'm wary of even mentioning that name, because it turned into such a horrid game with horrible mechanics and systems and things like that. But I really think that this game has moved past all those things. It doesn't have those same problems that Star Wars Galaxies had. It seems really straightforward, and there's really nothing that you can't obtain. Like in Star Wars Galaxies, they would have things like the Jedi, and it was like nobody could obtain it. And then they turned it around where everybody could obtain that, and basically ruined it, made it not special anymore. And here you get to see I end up dying happily and stupidly once again. Yeah, the jetpack, it takes a little bit of getting used to. Yeah, you defeated yourself. That is nothing, no surprise for me, In addition to the blaster and your melee weapon, you do also have like a force field, and you have grenades, which I was neglecting to use, which would have helped me quite a bit in this area. But as you can see, the death penalty is quite lax, at least in this tutorial area. I'm sure that there has to be a harsher death penalty out in the real world, at least having to walk back to the mission or dungeon, whatever. And this is the force field, as you can see, and it will drain your power, so you have to be aware of that. And it doesn't last forever. It only lasts for what was that, like 15 seconds or something like that. Yeah, but it's helpful. It comes quite useful in a pinch. This game also does offer a crafting system, so if you're into crafting and that aspect of MMOs, then this does have crafting, and it seems to work on the same principles of getting drops from monsters and using those drops to make something, basically. It's a crafting system that almost every MMO has, and it's really probably, I guess, like the best one really that can be developed at this point in time. Nobody's come up with anything really better at this point. At least they have that, They seem to have some of the social aspects as well, like kind of like explorations and all those things that people who don't raid and aren't into a lot of group content might like.
You're not going to survive long up on the roof. You need to find a way into that facility. It'll be much safer, and maybe you can find something to wear.
It would be nice to find something to wear. I've been barefoot the whole time. Could you at least give this guy a pair of shoes? He's got stinky feet. So this is coming towards like the end of the tutorial, basically, and at this point, you've basically seen the combat. You've seen the shooting, you've seen the melee, you've seen the way the mechanics of the jetpack works. And now we have some shoes and some armor. Can abandon that Fred Flintstone look. And this regenerating health system, it's becoming more and more popular these days, of just finding cover and regenerating health. I'm not the hugest fan of that system. I really love the old systems of using med packs and things, and almost every game has moved away from that. So I'm sure that there's probably some sort of health potion or med packs available in this game. You know, as for the group content, you know, there is a healing class, and this is basically the tank class. As much as I can, you know, glean from the information available, this sure seems like the tank. And the other class, the one that seemed like the rogue class, you know, they all, you know, they all have to stick to the trinity, you know, the healing and the tank and the DPS. You know, there's really nothing that's been invented that is better than that at this point in time, at least. And like other MMOs, one of the most important aspects of the entire thing is meeting people and getting to know people, making friends, and doing the content together. I mean, of course, it has to be enjoyable content, and I'm really liking this storyline, and I really like the combat. Like I've mentioned many times before, it's pretty cool, you know, being able to use your jetpack to drop down and use your gun, or you can, you know, switch to your melee weapons, and you also have your force field, and you have grenades available. I wish I could show like all of the aspects, but you know, unfortunately, I can only do so much in 45 minutes. That's what the Gamer Down MMORPG Spotlight is basically all about. You know, is to expose you to all these different kinds of MMOs. Then you might find one that you like, because there's so many MMOs these days, and more on the horizon, and there's a lot of good ones. You know, it's hard to choose these days. And some MMOs I will know quite a bit about, like Lord of the Rings and Rift and WoW, and you know, games I played for a long period of time. City of Heroes, I know a lot about it, and you'll find like my spotlight for them is more in depth because I know quite a bit more about the game. Games like these, like Global Agenda and Forsaken World and those Champions Online, you know, I'm a complete noob, and this is kind of like a blind review. So you have to take that for what it's worth, and I have to get that out there to make sure that, you know, I'm not leading you astray in any way, and I'm just, you know, giving you my honest opinion as best I can. And as I play more in depth into these games, I will do a follow-up, and we'll let you know what I think about them after, you know, 20, 30 levels or so. I plan on playing Global Agenda for a while to get a real feel for this game, because I really like this game, and I need something to fill that space between now and the release of Star Wars The Old Republic and Terra and Guild Wars 2, and I still enjoy Rift and WoW and all those things. It's just I've played them for years. Well, not Rift, it's only been out a few months, but it feels like I've played it for years because it's so much like WoW. And I make it a point to, you know, stay informed and know what people like, and, you know, keep my fingers on the pulse of the gaming community. You know, I peruse quite a few forums, I check out quite a few websites, and there seems to be this unanimous cry out there, and this unanimous cry is for something different from the systems of WoW, and different from the systems of Rift and Lord of the Rings, you know, those types of MMOs. And people are desperate for something new. And a lot of people want what we used to have in the very beginning of MMOs, such as like in the very beginning of EQ1 and UO, and that sense of adventure and that sense of danger, because there's like no real consequence to death penalties these days. Now I'm going to shut up and let you experience the gameplay some. I think that's very important, and a lot of reviewers don't let you experience the gameplay. They just end up talking the entire time.
So there's no going back, I'm afraid. You've squandered your chance to serve the Commonwealth. Your chance to replace me. I do hope you understand that you were very valuable to the Commonwealth. I will not enjoy destroying you.
Well, that was a fun fight, and as you can see, I stumbled across the way you're supposed to play this game. Keep your distance and blast them to hell. That seems to be the best strategy. It worked out really well with that guy. I was losing miserably trying everything else, and if you just get some distance and blast your enemies, you're not going to have any troubles. It was pretty easy, pretty straightforward from that point. From here on, I don't believe I die anymore. So, yeah, thank God. Now, I am only showing you the assault class at this point, so you have to keep that in mind. You have to remember there's 3 other classes. There's that rogue class, the medic class, and the gadget class. So you have to keep that in mind, that each one of these classes is going to be playing out a little bit differently.
Our uplink cut out again as soon as you went in there. You'll have to tell me what happened later, because it's time to finally get out of the city. We won't be able to land anywhere in its borders, but you can escape through the sewers if you can find an access hatch. Once you're down there, head south and you'll come across one of Agency Zero's old bases. We had to abandon it years ago, but you should be able to activate one of our emergency escape routes.
And yeah, finally got a minigun and a grenade. I neglected to use the grenade. It just completely slipped my mind when I was filming this, so you're going to have to forgive me. I'm going to do a part 2 to this, so you'll get to see that. But yeah, I got the minigun, and I really like this damn thing. This thing was awesome. Can't go wrong with a minigun. And since I finally got the strategy down of keeping your distance and just blasting them to hell, that, that helped quite a bit. Now, while this minigun is pretty cool and all, you can tear up a lot of pavement with this thing. It lacks a lot of accuracy, and it lacks a lot of distance. So I found it to be a lot easier just to use your blaster and just to go back to your assault rifle. Yeah, while this chain gun thing is cool, it's very situational. I imagine it would be much cooler, much better to use like on, I don't know, out in the PvP battlefield, or maybe in a instance or something. You're taking down a boss, you could really just chain gun them to hell right at point blank range. But in this situation here, it was much easier just to use my assault rifle, scope it out, and keep a lot of distance. That way I didn't get blasted to hell. And if I kept at the furthest distance, it seemed like these robot guys had a lot of trouble hitting me, and you can see that my health barely budges after I've started using this sniping type strategy, And, you can employ all kinds of strategies. I have my jetpack here. I could have swooped down from the air and meleeed them, but I probably would have died, most likely. I'm sure that with practice you will get much better at melee, and I don't know. I like I said, this is kind of a blind review, and you have to take that for what it's worth. And I'm sure that there's situations where the melee comes in handy and where it's really needed. Like such as keeping aggro and being a tank and everything like that. I imagine that the tanking class probably uses melee quite a bit. I imagine being in missions and dungeons, there's lots more close quarters combat. So I couldn't imagine you would be running around with your blaster if you were trying to gather up mobs and use that. Seems like melee would be the way to go with that. But this strategy I have here of just sniping from way far off seems to be a very, very good one. You know, it seems to be one of the best strategies I've found, yes, thus far. You know, I tried the other strategies. I tried the melee. I tried, you know, jetpacking in and just, you know, swooping in. But if you'll look back, that's when I died. And if I, you know, just kept with this strategy here, I did well, and I didn't, you know, come near death at all. So I'm going to shut up once again so you can actually see some of the gameplay and hear the weapons and see how it feels to play this game. And like I mentioned earlier, a lot of reviewers, they will talk through the entire thing and it will not give you any time to just sit here and just soak up the game itself. So I'm going to shut up for a few minutes and let you play. Let you watch me play, at least.
You should keep moving. You're almost there. Just follow this tunnel and you should find the base.
I think this game really sells itself. I think just watching my gameplay, if I saw this gameplay, I would be sold. I would want to go and check it out. And it's free to play, you know. You have nothing whatsoever to lose. And isn't that cool? You know, I had that wounded robot and he was fleeing from me. That's something you don't see very often, you know, anymore. The enemy actually fleeing from you. I can't remember a recent MMO where any enemies will flee from you, and that used to be an old school thing as well. That they used to happen quite a bit, but not anymore. And it was so much more realistic, you know. Nowadays, it's always a fight to the death, toe-to-toe battle to the end. You know, I think a lot of MMOs could do like what this is doing, you know, and try to at least add some AI to their, you know, their business. So much of the MMO genre these days is just stand there and, you know, you hit them, they hit you back, and whoever gets to 0 hit points first wins. And I really like that they're using AI a lot in this game, actually. You know, as the enemies will actually seek cover and they will rush you and they will flank you. It even has better AI than Fear 3, in my humble opinion. Actually, I was not a big fan of Fear 3. I know the gunplay is much more enjoyable than Fear 3.
It looks like those
I won't mention Fear 3 anymore. I know some people really liked it. I really did not like that game at all, and it was all because of the gun mechanics. It sucked. So
the way is clear for you now.
we're almost to the end of this tutorial. We're almost out of this mission type setting, and we'll be unleashed into the open world where everybody else is at. And it is kind of a stark contrast going from this tutorial, this fully voice acted, having that female voice prodding you along, to is kind of like a silence, and that's kind of disturbing at times. You know, like I experienced the same thing in Age of Conan, and it's like from levels 1 to 20, you had this fully awesome voice acting, you know, and everything was voice acted, and everything was polished to a T. It was to suck you in, so you would buy the game and you know, continue on. And that is something that you really notice right when you go from the tutorial area here.
Welcome aboard, Agent. We'll be in Dome City in a few hours. I think you're gonna do well there.
As tutorials go, I thought that was a pretty good one. You know, it took about 40 minutes to get through it, and I gained about 3 or 4 levels in the process, and I died twice, I believe. So that was the statistics for the entire experience. And like I said, now we're finally unleashed into the open MMO part of the world, where all the other players are at. And something that I've noticed in every single one of these free-to-play games is that it's crowded. There's a lot of people around. And there we come in now, dropping in there with our dropship. I believe there's one more splurge of dialogue.
We're here, Dome City. The boss will want to see you before you get settled in. Mind your reaction to him, though. He's, he'll see. Come on.
My compliments, Croft. You did well.
Glad to get another one out, sir.
I'm Dalton Bancroft, and this is my city, Dome City. I meet with all those who shelter here, and I feel a person has the right to see the face of those they deal with, however unpleasant that may be. You look me in the eye, and I appreciate that. Dome City is a haven for all those who oppose the Commonwealth, but that opposition takes many forms, from lone wolf to mercenary work, to tactical squads and alliance building. As long as you stand against the Commonwealth, you will find asylum and relative peace within my city.
And here we are, finally finished with all the dialogue and out of the tutorial area. And you'll notice how quiet it got. You know, what a stark contrast from like all the noise and action that was happening, and then all of a sudden everything gets quiet again. But I'm sure it picks up right away as soon as you know, go find your first thing to do, first dungeon and all that good stuff. And here we are completing up our first quest. And I will show a part 2 to this global agenda. I think this game is very worthy of a part 2 for the MMORPG Spotlight. It's a really cool game. I can't wait to play more and find out more about it itself. It has definitely been a unique and different experience than all the other MMOs I've been trying in recent times. They've all been WoW clones, of course, you know, using the WoW systems, and this seems to get away from a lot of those systems. And hey, except for the question marks and the exclamation points, can nobody come up with a better idea? I guess, you know, I guess because it's just universally known, but every single MMO, if there's a quest, the guy has an exclamation point. You know, it's time to turn the quest in. It's a question mark, you know, highlighted question mark. You know, you know, please, you know, I'd love to see more creativity, just a little bit, you know, something more and you can see that there are talent trees as well. That's a lot like WoW too, so at least the gameplay is a lot different than WoW's. And I mean, nothing against WoW, it's just I'm looking for a different type of MMO myself. I'm looking for an MMO that is a little different from WoW, different from the button mashing. DC Universe, it was a cool game, but the content dried up very quickly, and that could happen also in this game as well. You know, I've just got out of the tutorial area. I have no clue how the rest of this game plays out. How bored will you be in 2 months of, you know, constantly playing? You know, I don't really plan to constantly play for 2 months, but I plan to dabble a little bit and find out more about this game, and I will have a part 2 to it. So this has been Darkhosis for the Gamer Down. This has been the MMORPG Spotlight for Global Agenda. I will have a link to, you know, the main website for this, so you can download the game from there if you do not like to go through Steam. Otherwise, just load up Steam and use it. It's very easy. If you like this video, please thumbs up, and if you're not aware of my channel, then subscribe and check out my other videos. Thanks a lot.